Hi everyone. A lot of people have been asking us, you didn't have the boat for very long. Well, we owned it for what, about 14 months, give or take. And just wanted to kind of get a breakdown of what the cost of ownership was. And I think that's really good. I think everybody should have that knowledge. It's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But what we've done is we've kind of broken down the cost into, I think, 5 different major categories. We kind of have the pre-purchase cost. We have the routine maintenance, the accessories and supplies, the major maintenance, and then really just the fixed variable cost as well. So over the course of the next few minutes, we'll go through those costs with you, and hopefully you find it helpful. We'd also like to see if you have any information or any more comments about what costs you've incurred. That'd be great. Just leave your comments down below, and we can't wait to hear from you.
So we'll start off with what we call our pre-purchase costs. Anytime you buy a boat, you're going to most likely want to have a survey and a mechanical inspection, and ideally oil samples. In our case, with our new owners, they chose not to because they used our current one because it was actually very up to date. Your survey is going to, we lucked out, our surveyor was also a certified marine mechanic, so he was able to combine them. When we had our first boat, we paid 2 different companies.
Right.
It's based typically on the length of the boat and also the time they spend on the boat, and oil samples based on the number of engines. We spent roughly $1,500 for the survey and inspection, including oil samples. And I'd say that's about what we spent on the other boat, actually. What it doesn't include is you then, when you have a survey, you do need a haul out. And we were fortunate that we received a free haul out at Seaview Boatyard during the Seattle Boat Show. So we were able to use it. And that saved us roughly $600. Now, if you spend that money and your survey comes back not very good, you don't get the money back.
No.
So if you make another offer, just like a home and a home inspection, you do have to pay that again.
Yeah, it's definitely a sunk cost. No pun intended, or maybe.
But that $1,500 can also save you $150,000. So it's always better to do it if you don't have a current one like we did.
Yep. So our next category is what we call accessories and supplies. And this is really kind of up to you. So when you take possession of the boat, it comes with certain things, and it comes with, or doesn't come with, other things. And how you provision that boat with the accessories and supplies is really up to you. We spent about $2,500 doing that because we needed to get full galley supplies. We replaced all the bed linens, all the stateroom supplies, the salon supplies. What else did we go with?
The restrooms, we bought all the linens. We wanted a new TV. We ended up replacing the carpet in the cockpit because it was the original and it was 17 years old and moldy and everything. So, and that was a big chunk of the money. That was $900. We have a whole episode on it if you go back.
See the link down below.
For new cockpit carpet. So that was the biggest chunk. We bought headsets, which we kept for our next boat. Those are expensive as well, but I highly recommend it.
But this is definitely a cost that you can control. Depending, do you go out and buy fine china, or do you just use paper plates moving forward? Do you use plastic utensils, or do you get silverware? So really, what you put into this category is really on you. And again, we did it to the comfort level that we wanted. And but just something to be aware of, that when you're buying a boat, not every boat is going to come fully provisioned, ready to go on day one.
Our next category is what we call routine maintenance. These are items or things that you're going to do on the boat all throughout the year. We spent in the 14 months about $2,500, give or take, and that included oil change, which we did ourselves.
We did ourselves.
So we had to buy the tank to pump out. Filters, we put in new water filters. You put in a new oil filter, I think. Just the zincs. We paid a local company here, Emerald Harbor, to do some servicing on the water maker. They also serviced the inline vent.
Right, we had Double J do the diving on the boat.
They did the cleaning on the bottom and checked the intakes and replaced any zincs. So, you know, that's going to vary again depending on the size of your boat, how many
age
zincs,
of your boat,
all
that kind of stuff, and how much you can do yourself, and how much you want to pay somebody to do. But those are the kind of things that every boat owner is going to have done. You know, you're going to change your oil every year. You're going to have your zincs replaced. In between haul outs even. You're not going to just wait for each haul out before you do your zincs. In fact, this last time when we had the divers down, all of our zincs looked great except for our bow thruster. The zincs were totally gone. So they had to just replace those. And I'm not a scuba diver. Allie's not a scuba diver. And some things we're just willing to pay for instead of doing it ourselves, especially when the water here in Elliott Bay is about 55 degrees year round. So yeah,
I think a $2,500 to $3,000 is a fair estimate that you're going to want to spend. And if you're handy, you can save some money, but at least budget that much.
Exactly.
The next category is what we call major maintenance. So not your routine, it's things that you have to do maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 to 3 years. We're a little unique, and I kind of point at myself. So when we purchase the boat, the surveyor will come back with recommendations on things that he recommends you should do. He's also going to come back with things that you need to do to comply with ABYC. We actually covered all those. We didn't really have to spend any money other than replacing our Raycor fuel filters with a metal heat shield. But he did recommend, hey, you've got original batteries, you do have original fuel filters, you do have, there was like maybe one other item, and so we chose our biggest expense to replace every single battery. That was 6 main ones, I think 6
house, 2 starters, and 2 for the thruster.
For the thrusters. And so it was expensive.
Yeah.
We spent in total about $6,400 when we first took possession of the boat, just because I did not want to be out on Puget Sound and have the thing die on me.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, the previous owners had provided us with really good maintenance logs for what they did and maintenance receipts. And it was really due for its annual checkup, so to speak, anyway, with a full tune-up of both engines. And so we have 2 big Cummins diesels that needed to be tuned up, and that included the oil changes, the belts, the zincs, everything, and so on and so forth. So that was going to be done anyway. And just to play it safe based on the survey results, yeah, we did the full battery bank of replacements as well. So the new owners, they're set for the next 6 years, probably 6 to 10 years. So,
and we did that right when we took possession in March.
Yep. And again, these are our costs, our expenses. Every boat's different. Your experience is going to be different. And if you choose to follow the survey results and the suggestions right at the beginning, great. If not,
one thing that we didn't know about until this year is we worked with Emerald Harbor Marine here at Elliott Bay, who worked on our water maker and our inline vent and actually our spotlight. And when we told them we were selling the boat, they said, hey, you know, what are you looking for? And we said, we don't know.
Yep.
And they said, you know, we offer a service, as I'm sure many do. And what it is kind of a third-party review of the boat, not a survey, not mechanical, but what they'll do is they'll come in and take a look at the boat and tell you what your annual maintenance costs could be. You have to remember, if you buy an older boat, their parts might not be available.
Right.
Or it may have a really high-tech water maker that needs $300 filters and you know, things you might not have known. And so they'll for a fee come in and take a look at it for you. They also suggested, which I don't think it would have changed our mind, but maybe, is that, hey, don't necessarily fix everything when you first buy it. Listen to the boat first. Take it out for a while. How does it sound? How does it feel? Because there might be something that needs to be fixed or replaced more urgently, and you're going to need to spend that money than what you just spent on, say, these batteries.
Yeah.
And so I think moving forward, I would definitely have that type of a service come in and take a peek and see what we might need, so that we don't end up knowing that we have to buy really expensive parts.
Right. You want to think of it kind of as a cost of ownership survey, not a cost of purchase survey, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so they'll give you the 1 year cost, the 1 year cost, the 5 year cost, the lifetime cost of what you should expect to budget on that particular boat.
So I thought it was very helpful.
Yeah, I wish we would have known that beforehand.
Yep.
Second part of our major maintenance is really something that all boats go through again as well, and that's the annual or biannual type of haul out, right? So we knew our boat hadn't been hauled out for a couple of years. We knew the bottom paint hadn't been done in I don't know how long. It looked good on the original inspection because I think the previous owners probably just had it dived on. So they had it fully scraped, everything looked good, but we knew that the paint was getting a little thin and we were gonna have to do it. We didn't want to do it right then and there when we hauled it out because that was part of the survey, so we couldn't do it right then and there. And so we knew we were good for the summer. We could wait until the fall, and that's what we did. We waited till the boating season was over, had it hauled out. It was about $2,000, a little bit more than $2,000 for the haul out itself. It was a 7-day turnaround in the boatyard. We had intended on doing a lot of the work ourselves. Actually, we actually went out and bought the paint and the paint supplies and a lot of the other things that we were going to need in order to do the bottom paint and the scraping and so on.
And then we saw the barnacles.
Well, not only that, but unfortunately we both got called out of town that exact same week, right after we hauled out. Basically, we both had to get hauled out for the week for work, and we're like, well, we don't want it to be in the yard any longer than it needs to be. So Pacific Fiberglass, the workers right there at the shipyard, they have a great reputation and they did a fantastic job. So we contracted with them right away. They did the bottom paint, they scraped, they put the prop speed on. That boat looked like it came right off the showroom floor when they were done with it. So well worth it. Would it have looked like that with us doing it? Probably not.
And I think that,
and that was about $3,000, $3,500.
Yeah, and I think that actually no, it's
about $3,900.
$3,900. Yeah. But overall, the key is what we didn't know about is when I looked at the barnacles, and the barnacles were on, as you can see here in this video, the barnacles were on the rudder, they were on the struts, they were on the prop, and we didn't know anything about prop speed. You know?
Yeah, it was amazing how many barnacles came out through the summertime, given that we used it a lot during the summer.
And so they showed us what they were doing on another boat. I looked it up. I'm like, fantastic product. It'll last roughly 2 to 3 years. Why don't we do this sooner? And I'm in the industry, and now that we've done it and I'm in the industry, I'm learning, like, why didn't this just get done to begin with?
Yep,
so
absolutely.
I'm glad we ended up doing that, and it was if anything, I think that investment helped the value of the boat.
Oh yeah, by far.
By far.
The other thing is, at least here in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of environmental concerns when you're doing work on a boat yourself. So unless you follow those guidelines to a T, you're setting yourself up, as well as the shipyard, for a lot of fines if anything happens. So Pacific Fiberglass, they know what they're doing. They tented off the whole tent, things that we probably wouldn't have even thought of doing. So they just did a fantastic job. I can't say enough for them.
One thing I'd also mention, anytime you haul out, and every boatyard is different, it's like going to a restaurant. Everybody has their great stories and their nightmare stories. We've been to a boatyard where the boatyard did half the work and we did half the work, and that boat was in the yard for almost 5 weeks, and it was expensive. In this case, because they were doing some of the work, they didn't charge us what normally would have charged us if we were. Where at the new place, It was about $100, $150 a day. We needed to get it out.
Oh,
They
yeah.
needed to get done with that work in 7 days. And that is very common. And you will find that at many boat yards. So plan on, when you're budgeting, you want to figure how fast can you get the work done, because the longer you're in there, and in our case, this canal boat yard, they're closed on weekends. So your only choice was to go back in the water Monday through Friday.
Right.
So keep that in mind when you interview a boat yard. Our last category is what we call our fixed expenses. These are not going to change no matter what. And for us, that included our moorage, our insurance, and fuel. You need those three things in order to operate a boat.
Right.
Our moorage was definitely at a premium. I think we paid roughly $12 a foot here at Elliott Bay. It might be more than that.
It was about $8.50 a month, whatever that works out to for 47 feet.
You're gonna vary. The only thing that's gonna vary month to month is gonna be your electricity use. We have much nicer facilities here. We've got beautiful restrooms, laundry rooms. The scenery, as you can see behind us, is fantastic. Plenty of parking, security, walking around. And it was 5 minutes from our home.
That was the big thing. I mean, the convenience factor of having it really walking distance from where we live was huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we spent roughly $12,000+ a year in moorage. Insurance, it's going to base it on the age of your boat, the size of your boat. And the other thing I want to mention about insurance, you can get cheap insurance if you go to, Geico or State Farm or your automobile company, but chances are you are not covered if you have for any EPA marine accidents. And what that means is if you run aground and because you run out of fuel,
or you drop fuel because you ran out of ground.
Yeah.
So,
you can be
leak fuel.
fined up to $1 million for that accident. So if your boat sinks or you have a spill, anything, I didn't want that responsibility. That'll ruin our lives. So we went with marine insurance, and we actually use Global Marine Insurance, which we've used even for the previous boat. And so those policies are going to be a little bit more expensive, and for us it was about $100 a month.
Yeah.
So we spent about $1,400. We had 2 fuel tanks, and we were, what, $120 each?
$120 each, so $240 total.
When we first got the boat, we filled up. Now remember, this is diesel. Diesel's a little cheaper than gasoline. And when we first filled it up, we paid about $2.75 a gallon, to almost $3 a gallon. And that was about $600-ish. And then during the pandemic, we found out that a local marina down in Des Moines had it for $1.75, and we made a trip down there.
Oh yeah, it was worth the trip.
Just to get gas, and we filled up. Actually, we filled up for less than $200, and the time before was about $800.
Yeah, because we had about half a tank left in it. So
we spent about $1,000 in 14 months on fuel. For a boat traveling all over, that's actually a screaming deal. On our old boat, the Bayliner, because it would go about 24 knots versus this boat that only traveled about 10 knots. That boat, just to the San Juan Islands and back, we burned through $1,500 worth of fuel, and that was for 7 days.
Yeah, the new owners got a screaming deal because they got a new boat with a full tanks of gas, or fuel, I should say, diesel. And so, well, good for them. I mean, we weren't able to, I mean, the weather this spring wasn't very good to utilize it. And again, with the virus and everything was shut down anyway. So good for them. They'll have it for the rest of the summer, and hopefully they use it all up.
Yep.
So if you've been playing along, you'll know that we'd spent about $33,000, give or take, over the 14 months that we owned the boat, which comes out to $2,400 a month on average. So
not including the boat payment.
That doesn't include boat payment, because that's just, again, one of those costs. If you finance, that's part of the boat. You don't think about it. You don't think about your car payment, so on and so forth, or your house payment. So a lot of these costs are controllable by you, by the marina that you choose, the protection that you have, the boat you buy, whether you finance it or don't finance it. how much maintenance needs to be done. Are you buying a fixer-upper, or are you buying a turnkey type of solution? How much did the previous owner leave on the boat? How much did they not leave on the boat? So you have to keep all of that. So I consider most of the things that we've talked about really as variable cost and not true fixed costs of ownership. So hopefully this has been helpful for you.
The other thing to keep in mind is everybody, and it seems like a large amount of money, you know, if you see, people might gasp. Well, first of all, we typically go on a one big vacation a year, every year, usually the Caribbean, and we spend about $6,000 on that vacation. And then we typically, at least once a quarter, we go away for a weekend and spend, you know, $1,000 to $1,500 on that. So for us, we count this as a vacation. We get to spend 365 days a year on it if we want. So for us, it's worth the money to be able to have that. We don't collect cars. There's people that collect cars and the cars never leave their garage. There's people that collect shoes and they've only worn them once and the shoes cost $5,000. So we don't think of as a huge amount of money in the sense that it's part of our lifestyle. The payback is the other priceless. The other really big key that makes us unique is we are not made of money. We actually sold our business. We sold our home. We've downsized into a rented condo that's from like 1982, and we're saving a humongous amount of money every month because we've done all these steps, which has allowed us to afford to be able to do this, and actually allow us to be able to upgrade to a bigger boat.
And that's ultimately what our game plan is here, is to take the learnings from our two previous boats and take what we liked out of them, take what we didn't like out of them, as we continue this boating journey forward to look for our live-aboard boat. So we will definitely be bringing you along on that. So you'll be able to see all the different boats that we're looking at, whether that means we buy a boat next month or next quarter or next year, who knows?
We don't know.
We won't know until we find it. So we're looking forward to it, and we hope you are too.
So in the meantime, be sure to tune in to next week's episode, because we are going to take you on a tour of Jeff Gasson's MV Knot. He lives on...
It doesn't take long.
No, he lives on a 32-foot Nordic tug, and he was so hospitable to invite us in and give us a tour, and he lives right there on the canal in, I guess we call it Ballard. So we'll take you on a tour of that, and so stay tuned.
Well, we hope you found that video helpful and interesting, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to the channel.
Be sure to ring the little bell up for notifications for futures. Can I just do mine?
Yeah, you can just do your part.
Okay. And be sure to ring the bell for notification for future episodes, and please leave your comments and questions down below. We really appreciate it, and we love seeing what everyone has to say, and many of you have come up with these suggestions on content, and that's one of the reasons we're doing this video. So thanks, you guys.